Welcome to the European Association for Higher Education Advancement's YouTube and podcast channel.
Oh, wow.
Today, we're tackling a topic that's, let's be honest, sometimes a bit of a headache.
Yeah.
The job hunt.
Indeed. The quest for the perfect career move can feel like a bit of a roller coaster ride, that's for sure.
Exactly. And to help us navigate this roller coaster, we're diving into a blog post straight from the European Association for Higher Education Advancement.
Okay.
It's called Advice for Young People Who Are Looking for a Job but Have Trouble Finding It, published back in September 2022.
Right.
It's packed with practical tips, but we're going to go, beyond just what's on the surface.
Yeah.
We're going to dissect these tips, add some context, and, the most important thing is we're going to help you actually apply them.
Right.
What do you say? Should we jump right in?
Let's dive in. You'll find that even familiar advice can reveal new layers when we examine the why behind it.
Okay, so tip number 1 from the EAEA is cast a wider net. They suggest broadening your search, maybe looking beyond your dream industry, maybe even your ideal location. They even mention considering like temporary or part-time positions.
Yeah.
What's the strategy behind this, in your opinion?
It's all about breaking free from tunnel vision.
Okay.
It's easy to get fixated on that one perfect role in that one perfect company, but the job market, it's full of surprises.
Right.
Being open to a wider range of opportunities isn't just about increasing your chances. It's about discovering paths you might not have even considered before.
I see, yeah. That reminds me of a story I heard about a software developer who actually started their career as a barista.
Okay.
That experience taught them about customer service, multitasking under pressure, and even a bit of marketing. They came up with creative promotions and things. And they used those skills later to actually launch their own successful tech startup.
That's a fantastic example. It really shows how a seemingly unrelated job can provide valuable skills and even maybe even spark unexpected entrepreneurial journeys.
Right.
Think of it this way. Every job, every experience is a chance to add to your toolbox. You never know what tool might come in handy down the line.
Yeah, I like that. So it's not just about finding any old job. It's about building a skill set that can adapt and evolve, right?
Precisely. And sometimes those sideways steps can lead to unexpected shortcuts.
Okay.
A temporary position might expose you to a new industry you fall in love with, or help you build connections that lead to your dream job down the line.
So tip number 2 from the EEEA focuses on networking like a pro.
All right.
They highlight the importance of connecting with people in your field, attending events, joining organizations, and even, seeking out those informational interviews.
Yeah.
But honestly, for someone who's, let's say, not exactly a social butterfly, the whole idea of networking can be a bit intimidating.
I understand that feeling, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Networking doesn't have to be about working a room full of strangers, It's about building genuine connections and learning from others' experiences.
I see.
It can be as simple as reaching out to a former professor for advice or striking up a conversation with someone who commented on your LinkedIn post.
So it's more about building relationships than collecting business cards, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you approach networking with genuine curiosity and a desire to learn,
Yeah.
it becomes less about, selling yourself and more about having meaningful conversations.
Right.
You might be surprised at how willing people are to share their insights and experiences, especially when they see that you're genuinely interested.
It's about finding common ground, right? Like maybe you both admire the same thought leader in your industry.
Yeah.
Or you're passionate about, a particular social cause.
Exactly. Those shared interests can be great conversation starters.
Yeah.
And help you build a rapport that goes beyond just a superficial exchange.
I know someone who actually landed their dream job through a connection they made at a volunteer event.
Oh, wow.
They weren't even looking for a job at the time.
Yeah.
But they struck up a conversation with someone who was so impressed with their passion and skills that they ended up recommending them for a position at their company.
That's a perfect illustration of how powerful those seemingly casual connections can be.
Right.
And it highlights another key point. Networking isn't just about finding a job.
Right.
It's about expanding your horizons, learning new things, and building relationships that can enrich your life both professionally and personally.
Okay, on to tip number 3. And this one's all about standing out from the crowd.
Okay.
Tailor-made applications. The EAEA emphasizes customizing your resume and cover letter to each specific job you apply for.
And for good reason. Think about it from the employer's perspective.
Okay.
They're sifting through piles of applications,
Yep.
many of which look remarkably similar. When they come across a resume and cover letter that clearly demonstrate, a genuine understanding of their company and the specific role,
Mhm.
it's like a breath of fresh air.
So it's not just about showcasing your skills.
Right.
It's about showing them how their skills directly align with the needs of that particular job.
Precisely. It's about demonstrating that you've taken the time to research the company, understand their values and goals, and articulate how your experience makes you a perfect fit for their team.
So how do you actually tailor your applications effectively? I
Mm.
mean, it's one thing to say use keywords,
Yeah.
but it's another thing to actually do it in a way that feels authentic and impactful.
One approach is to imagine you're having a conversation with the hiring manager.
Right.
What are their biggest pain points?
Mm-hmm.
What are their top priorities for this role?
Right.
How can your skills and experience help them solve those problems and achieve those goals?
So instead of just listing a bunch of skills on your resume, you're crafting a narrative that speaks directly to the needs of the employer.
Exactly. It's about showcasing your skills in a way that resonates with the specific context of that job.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you're applying for a marketing role at a tech startup.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of simply saying you're, proficient in social media,
Right.
you might highlight your experience driving engagement and generating leads through targeted social media campaigns.
That's a much more compelling and specific way to demonstrate your expertise.
And it shows the employer that you're not just throwing your resume at every job posting.
Mm.
You're thoughtfully considering how your skills can contribute to their success.
Okay, let's move on to tip number 4. Be a go-getter.
Right.
This one is all about taking initiative and going beyond simply applying to job postings.
Mm-hmm.
The EAA suggests contacting companies directly, even if they aren't actively advertising open positions.
This is where you can really differentiate yourself from the competition.
Yeah.
In a crowded job market, it's not enough to simply wait for opportunities to come to you.
Right.
You need to be proactive and showcase your enthusiasm.
So instead of waiting for the phone to ring, you're picking up the phone and making the call yourself.
Exactly. And it's not just about reaching out to companies randomly.
Right.
It's about being strategic and targeted in your approach.
So let's say you're really interested in working for a specific company,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have any open positions listed on their website.
Yeah.
What's the best way to approach them?
Start by doing your research.
Okay.
Identify someone within the company who works in the department or area you're interested in.
Right.
Then, instead of sending a generic, I'm looking for a job email,
Mm-hmm.
craft a personalized message expressing your admiration for their work
Okay.
and asking a thoughtful question or two.
So you're not asking for a job. You're initiating a conversation.
Exactly. You might mention an article they wrote that you found insightful or a project they worked on that you admire.
Okay. And then subtly weave in your own skills and experience, highlighting how you might be able to contribute to their team.
It's about positioning yourself as a valuable asset, someone who brings something unique to the table.
Precisely. And remember, even if they don't have any immediate openings, you've made a connection
Right.
and planted a seed for future opportunities.
I love that approach. It's proactive without being pushy.
Yeah.
And it shows that you're genuinely interested in the company and the work they do.
Right.
Okay, on to the fifth and final tip from the EAA. Never stop learning.
All right.
They suggest considering internships or volunteer work to gain experience and skills.
This is such a crucial point, especially in today's rapidly evolving job market.
Right.
Continuous learning is essential for anyone who wants to stay relevant and competitive. And it's not just about acquiring new technical skills, it's about developing those soft skills that are so highly valued in today's workplace.
Yeah.
Communication, problem solving, teamwork, adaptability, and so on. But what if you're already working full-time or have other commitments that make it difficult to take on additional responsibilities,
Yeah.
like an internship or volunteer work?
There are still plenty of ways to embrace continuous learning.
Uh-huh.
Online courses, webinars, workshops, industry conferences, even just reading books and articles in your field can all contribute to your professional development.
There are so many great online learning platforms these days. You can learn practically anything from the comfort of your own home.
Exactly. And many of these resources are free or very affordable.
Right.
You can also join professional organizations in your field, which often offer networking events, educational workshops, and access to industry publications.
So it's about finding ways to fit continuous learning into your existing schedule,
Yeah,
even if it's just, an hour a week.
precisely. And remember, continuous learning is not just about boosting your resume.
Right.
It's about expanding your horizons, challenging yourself, and staying engaged in your field.
Yeah.
It's about becoming a lifelong learner.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into job hunting hacks, inspired by the valuable advice from the European Association for Higher Education Advancement. We've talked about casting a wider net, networking like a pro, tailoring your applications, taking initiative, and never stopping learning.
And through it all, we've seen how a shift in perspective, a willingness to embrace new possibilities, and a commitment to continuous growth can make all the difference in navigating the job search successfully.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
In our next segment, we'll delve deeper into some specific strategies and tactics to help you put these tips into action and really stand out from the competition.
We'll also explore some of the common challenges job seekers face,
Okay.
from dealing with rejection to staying motivated during a long job search, and offer practical advice on how to overcome those obstacles.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into job hunting hacks coming up right up.
Well, no need for a break. Let's just keep this conversation going.
Okay, great.
We're ready when you are.
All right, sounds good. All right, we've laid the groundwork with those 5 fantastic tips from the European Association for Higher Education Advancement.
Right.
Now, let's roll up our sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty of actually applying these tips. Where should we start?
Let's tackle networking head on.
Okay.
It's one thing to talk about building genuine connections, but how do you actually make that happen? Especially if, the idea of schmoozing at a networking event makes you want to hide in the corner.
You're reading my mind.
Yeah.
I'm much more comfortable connecting with people one-on-one, but even then, I sometimes struggle to know where to start.
I hear you. And honestly, sometimes the best connections just happen, organically in those unexpected places.
Right.
Remember, networking isn't just about formal events or LinkedIn requests. It's about being open to connecting with people wherever you find yourself.
So striking up a conversation with someone in a workshop or even at a coffee shop.
Exactly. You never know who you might meet or what opportunities might arise from a casual conversation.
Right.
Of course, online platforms like LinkedIn can be incredibly valuable,
Yeah.
but it's important to use them strategically.
I have to admit, LinkedIn can feel a bit overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
Any tips on how to, make it work for you rather than feeling like you're just scrolling endlessly through a sea of posts?
Definitely. First and foremost, think of your LinkedIn profile as your online resume.
Okay.
It's the first impression you make on potential employers, so make sure it's polished, professional, and showcases your skills and experience effectively.
So it's not just about listing your work history.
Right.
It's about, telling your story in a compelling way.
Exactly. Use a professional headshot, write a catchy headline that highlights your unique value proposition, and craft a summary that tells a concise and compelling story about your career journey and aspirations.
It's almost like crafting an elevator pitch for your professional self.
Precisely. And just like an elevator pitch, it needs to grab attention and make people want to learn more.
Okay.
Once you have a strong profile, start connecting with people in your field.
Right?
Join industry groups, participate in discussions, and share articles or insights that you find valuable.
So it's about being an active participant in the community,
Yeah.
not just a passive observer.
Exactly. And when you reach out to people individually,
Yeah.
make sure you personalize your message.
Yeah.
Generic requests are easily ignored, but a thoughtful message that demonstrates genuine interest, that's much more likely to get a response.
So instead of just saying, I'd like to connect,
Right.
maybe mention something specific about their work that you admire or a common interest you share.
Exactly. Make them feel like you're reaching out to them as an individual, not just as a potential connection in your network. And remember, networking is a two-way street. Offer value to others, share your insights, and be genuinely interested in learning from the people you connect with.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about tailoring your applications.
Okay.
We've already discussed the importance of using keywords.
Right.
But how do you do that without sounding like you're just, parroting phrases from the job posting?
That's a great question. It's all about weaving those keywords naturally into your own language.
Okay.
and showcasing how your skills and experience align with those keywords.
So it's not just about using the same words. It's about demonstrating that you understand the underlying concepts
Yeah,
and how they relate to your abilities.
exactly. For example, let's say the job posting emphasizes problem-solving skills.
Okay.
Don't just say you're a problem solver.
Right.
Instead, provide specific examples of how you've tackled challenges in previous roles, highlighting the steps you took, the outcomes you achieved, and the lessons you learned along the way.
It's like turning your resume and cover letter into a collection of, like, mini success stories. Yeah. That showcase your skills in action.
Exactly. And when you're tailoring your application materials, pay attention to the tone and style of the job posting.
Right.
If it's formal and corporate, mirror that tone in your writing.
Okay.
If it's more casual and creative, let your personality shine through a bit more.
It's about showing them that you, like, get their company culture and would be a good fit for their team.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And speaking of fitting in, another important aspect of tailoring your application is highlighting your soft skills. Those interpersonal qualities that can make or break your success in any role.
Soft skills are so important, but they can be tricky to, like, showcase on a resume. Any tips on how to do that effectively?
One approach is to use action verbs and descriptive language to bring your soft skills to life.
Oh.
For example, instead of just saying you're a team player,
Right.
you might say you're adept at collaborating with cross-functional teams to achieve goals.
That paints a much more vivid picture of your abilities.
And it shows the employer that you're not just listing a bunch of buzzwords. You're thoughtfully demonstrating how your soft skills have translated into real-world results.
Okay, let's move on to taking initiative. The EA suggests reaching out to companies directly, even if they aren't actively advertising open positions. But how do you do that without coming across as, I don't know, desperate or annoying? I mean, no one wants to be that person who's constantly bombarding companies with unsolicited emails.
You're absolutely right. It's all about being strategic, respectful, and most importantly, offering value.
Right.
Before you even think about reaching out to a company, do your homework.
So stalk their website,
Yeah.
read their blog posts, maybe even check out their social media feeds to get a sense of their, like, company culture and values.
Exactly. And go beyond just reading their marketing materials.
Okay.
Look for interviews with their leaders, articles about their recent projects, or even case studies that showcase their work.
So you're not just showing them that you're interested. You're demonstrating that you've taken the time to really understand their business.
Precisely. And once you've done your research,
Yeah.
identify someone within the company who works in the department or area you're interested in.
Okay.
This might be a hiring manager, a team leader, or even someone in a role similar to the one you aspire to.
So you're not just sending a generic email to the company's general inbox.
Right.
You're targeting your outreach to someone who's actually in position to help you.
Exactly. And when you craft your message, focus on building a connection and expressing your admiration for their work. Mention something specific that caught your attention, like a recent project or a company initiative that aligns with your own interests and values.
So instead of saying, hey, I'm looking for a job, can you help? You're starting a conversation.
Yeah.
And demonstrating that you have something valuable to contribute.
Exactly. You might even offer a suggestion or ask a thoughtful question that demonstrates your knowledge and insights.
That's a great way to, stand out from the crowd and position yourself as a valuable asset.
Right.
Even if they don't have any immediate openings.
Precisely. And remember, even if you don't hear back right away, don't be discouraged.
Yeah.
Follow up politely a week or two later, and if you still don't get a response, move on. There are plenty of other fish in the sea, so to speak.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears again and talk about continuous learning. The EAEA suggests considering internships or volunteer work to gain experience and skills. But what if your schedule is already, like, jam-packed?
Yeah.
With work, family, and other commitments? How do you squeeze in time for professional development without burning yourself out?
That's a common challenge, but it's all about finding creative ways to integrate learning into your existing routine.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a huge time commitment. Even just dedicating an hour or two a week to expanding your knowledge and skills can make a significant difference over time.
So instead of feeling like you have to, like, enroll in a full-blown degree program or commit to a lengthy internship, you can break down your learning goals into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Exactly. Start by identifying a specific skill you want to develop or an area of knowledge you want to expand.
Okay.
Then, explore the vast array of online resources available. There are countless free or low-cost courses, webinars, tutorials, and even podcasts that can help you achieve your learning goals.
I've been using online learning platforms to, brush up on my design skills and learn new software programs. It's so convenient and affordable, and I can learn at my own pace.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the value of informal learning experiences.
Right.
Attending industry events,
Right.
reading books and articles in your field,
Yeah.
even just having conversations with people who are more experienced than you can all contribute to your professional growth.
It's about being a sponge, soaking up knowledge wherever you find it.
Exactly. And remember, continuous learning is not just about acquiring knowledge.
Right.
It's about developing a growth mindset, a willingness to embrace new challenges and step outside your comfort zone.
So it's not just about adding bullet points to your resume.
Right.
It's about becoming a more well-rounded and adaptable professional.
Precisely. And that adaptability is crucial in today's rapidly evolving job market.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this segment,
Yeah.
from practical networking tips to strategies for tailoring your applications and embracing continuous learning. But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to a key theme that's emerged throughout our conversation: the importance of mindset.
Mindset. It's the secret ingredient that can make or break your job search experience.
Absolutely. So what are some key mindset shifts that can help job seekers navigate the ups and downs of the job hunt more effectively?
One of the most important mindset shifts is to view the job search as a journey, not a destination.
What do you mean by that? It seems like the destination, landing that dream job, is kind of the whole point of the journey, isn't it?
Right. Of course, finding the right job is the ultimate goal.
Right.
But if you fixate solely on that end result, you'll miss out on the valuable lessons, connections, and self-discovery that happen along the way.
So instead of getting caught up in the stress of finding a job, you're suggesting we embrace the process
Yeah.
of exploring different opportunities, learning new skills, and expanding our network.
Exactly. And when you approach the job search with that mindset,
Yeah.
you're less likely to feel discouraged by setbacks or rejections. You're more likely to see each experience as an opportunity for growth,
Right.
even if it doesn't lead directly to a job offer.
It's like reframing those no's as like stepping stones on the path to a yes.
Precisely. And another key mindset shift is to cultivate a sense of abundance rather than scarcity.
What do you mean by that?
It's about believing that there are plenty of opportunities out there and that you have something valuable to offer. Instead of feeling like you're competing with everyone else for a limited number of jobs, focus on what makes you unique and how you can contribute to the success of the companies you're interested in.
So instead of feeling intimidated by the competition, you're suggesting we focus on our own strengths and how we can stand out from the crowd.
Exactly. When you believe in yourself and your value, you're more likely to project that confidence in your interactions with potential employers.
I love that. Confidence is so attractive.
Yeah,
And it's contagious.
absolutely. And when you radiate confidence, you're more likely to attract opportunities that align with your values and aspirations.
Okay, one more question about mindset.
Mhm.
How do you stay motivated when the job search, drags on longer than you expected? It's easy to get discouraged when you're sending out dozens of applications and not getting any responses.
It's definitely challenging, but there are a few things that can help. First, break down your job search into smaller, more manageable goals.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed by the daunting task of finding a job,
Yeah.
we focus on smaller steps, like updating our resume, attending a networking event, or even just revamping our LinkedIn profile.
Exactly. Celebrating those small wins can help you stay motivated and build momentum. It's also important to prioritize self-care during this process.
Right.
The job search can be emotionally draining,
Yeah.
so make sure you're taking time for yourself to recharge and de-stress.
So go for a hike, spend time with loved ones,
Yeah.
or just curl up with a good book, whatever helps you relax and replenish your energy.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this journey.
Mm-hmm.
There are countless resources available to support you,
Right.
from career counselors to online communities to the wisdom of experienced professionals. Don't be afraid to reach out for help and guidance when you need it.
Sometimes just talking to someone who understands what you're going through can make all the difference.
Yeah,
It's a reminder that we're all in this together.
absolutely. And don't forget the power of perspective.
Okay.
Sometimes a little distance from the situation can help you see things more clearly.
So if you're feeling stuck or discouraged,
Yeah.
maybe step away from the job search for a day or two and focus on something else that brings you joy.
Exactly. A fresh perspective can often lead to new insights and solutions.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
From practical networking tips to strategies for tailoring your applications, embracing continuous learning, and cultivating a resilient mindset. Ready to move on to the final part.
Absolutely. Let's wrap up this job hunting adventure with a discussion of some common challenges and how to overcome them.
All right, we've talked about strategies, we've talked about mindset, but let's be real. The job hunt can be a tough journey.
Yeah, it can.
Even with the best preparation, setbacks are inevitable.
That's absolutely true. And one of the toughest things to deal with, even for, seasoned professionals, is rejection. It's so easy to feel like those thanks but no thanks emails are a personal judgment on your skills and worth.
Oh, tell me about it. I've definitely been there. It's like a punch to the gut, especially when you've poured your heart and soul into an application.
It's a completely normal reaction, but here's the key: reframing rejection.
Okay.
It's not a reflection of you as a person or even your qualifications.
Right.
It's often just a mismatch, their needs, and your offerings at that specific moment didn't align.
So instead of spiraling into self-doubt, we should be looking for the lessons in those rejections.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Was there anything in my application I could improve? Did I miss highlighting a key skill? Sometimes rejection is simply a nudge to refine your approach.
Sounds like getting feedback, even if it's not the feedback we hoped for.
Precisely. And remember, every no you receive gets you one step closer to that resounding yes. The key is to not let rejection derail your momentum.
Easier said than done, right? Any tips on how to bounce back from those setbacks and keep those spirits high, especially when the job search drags on longer than expected?
This is where those mindset shifts we talked about earlier really come into play.
Right.
Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay.
There will be moments of doubt, discouragement, maybe even a touch of despair.
And those feelings are totally valid. We're human, not robots.
Absolutely allow yourself to feel those emotions, but don't let them take over. One of the most effective ways to stay motivated is to break down your job search into smaller, more achievable goals.
So instead of fixating on that, like, huge, overwhelming goal of finding a job,
Right.
we focus on smaller steps like sending out a certain number of applications each week, attending networking events, or even just, revamping your LinkedIn profile.
Exactly. Checking off those smaller milestones creates a sense of accomplishment and forward momentum, which can be incredibly motivating. And don't forget to celebrate those wins.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as treating yourself to a nice coffee after a productive day of job hunting can help boost your spirits.
I love that idea. It's about finding those little moments of joy amidst the sometimes tedious process of job hunting. Now, I want to talk about something that can be a real struggle for many job seekers, dealing with the uncertainty of it all. You put yourself out there, you send out applications, you network, but there's no guarantee of when or where that next opportunity will come from.
Uncertainty is definitely one of the biggest challenges of the job hunt, and it's something we all have to learn to navigate. But here's a reframing. What if we looked at uncertainty not as a threat, but as an invitation to possibility?
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Think about it. Uncertainty means you're not locked into a rigid path. You have the freedom to explore different options, try new things, and potentially discover a career path you hadn't even considered before.
So instead of fearing the unknown, we should embrace it as a chance to step outside our comfort zones and see where life takes us.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. There are so many resources available to support you, from career counselors to online communities to the wisdom of experienced professionals who've been in your shoes. Don't be afraid to reach out for help and guidance when you need it.
Sometimes just talking to someone who understands what you're going through can make all the difference. It's a reminder that we're all in this together.
Absolutely. And one final thought to leave you with: the job hunt can be challenging, but it's also an incredible opportunity for growth, self-discovery, and ultimately finding a career that aligns with your values and passions. So keep learning, keep growing, keep believing in yourself, and never give up on your dreams.
That's such an inspiring message. And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into job hunting hacks inspired by the European Association for Higher Education Advancement.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and practical strategies to help you navigate your own job search journey with confidence and success.
Please don't forget to follow the European Association for Higher Education Advancement on YouTube and social media